want to just bring it over here, you won't be in there.
Tonia, I'm going to have to borrow that book on Mike Nichols. He's one of my heroes.
That is your book.
Is it?
Yes. Sorry, I meant to return that to you. It was really good.
Tony stole your book.
I'm saying, God, here's something to myself. I didn't even know Mike Nichols had a book. I would have bought it. And here it is mine all the time. Well.
All right, you just let us know when you want us to start.
We know that she is a book thief.
There you go.
Yeah. And she brings inappropriate objects.
I
to
know,
the
which are
podcast.
very attractive to me right now.
Yeah,
Really.
so good.
Okay.
On that note, let's right in.
Okay. Yeah. Why did you bring this to the podcast?
I actually didn't bring it to the podcast. It was already here, but let me tell you where it came from.
Ugh. What do you mean?
Well, as you know, I've been diagnosed with alopecia.
Yes. Oh, Peggy,
okay.
do you have your inhaler?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Okay.
Because I don't know CPR, and she doesn't care.
We got it.
So, yeah, okay.
Okay.
Start over?
Oh, no, we don't need to start over, Peggy. I love your coughing. It's amazing.
no.
Grab the
Yeah.
cough.
Yeah, it's good stuff, man. Good stuff.
Okay. So, anyways, I now have to get 10 steroid shots in my head. And they thought this was going to help me with the pain. So they gave this to me. And I looked at the woman. I said, well, I can throw it at you. That would make me feel better.
Yeah.
So that's what this is. But it's going to go away now. No, you have a... Oh,
So you're going to
sorry.
throw it at Oliver? That's a good idea.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
What?
I'm sorry. Anyways, welcome to the short of it. I am Tonia McGrath.
And I'm her sidekick, Rochelle.
Oh, I government named myself again.
You did. You
Oh
always
my
do.
gosh. What is that shirt?
I don't want anybody to dox me. You like my shirt?
What is it? It's a taped banana.
Well, yeah, it's a representation of a piece of conceptual art where the conceptual artist made, in an edition of 3,
I'm already bored.
a fresh banana.
I want to hear about it. Go
Thank
ahead.
you. Fresh banana taped to the gallery wall, and it
think I saw it.
recently came into the news because it sold for like $6-point-something million.
And you contributed by buying a T-shirt.
This is just, saying that I feel that I wish I had thought of that.
First, exactly.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Blown away.
I'm excited about today's show.
You are?
I am, for a couple of reasons.
Because your mommy's here?
Because my mommy's here. And we're going to be talking about, so typically we talk about filmmaking, the creative process, but the other part of the creative process of filmmaking, of course, is writing.
Oh, I thought you were going to let me,
Okay, let's do that again.
Okay, yeah, try
So
again.
it's filmmaking. We know that part of the creative take 2.
rice. And beans.
The producer is so mad at you right now. I'm feeling
he's
you.
he's
feeling
always
his.
mad at us.
Yeah, he is.
We never pay attention to his direction, but it's okay.
Is okay.
He's awesome. Anyways, filmmaking. We know that it is a very creative process, and part of that process is.
Writing.
And we have 2 amazing guests on today. Yes, one's my mom, to talk about the writing process, Cynthia and Suzette. Thank you so much for being on the short of it.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, thrilling to be here.
Something that we share, Suzette and I share with you, is that we are partners. So we have been working together now for about
Couple years.
a couple of years. And
wow.
we send each other chapters and write notes on them and have a conversation about them. And it's really been so important to my writing process, and it's just been invaluable. It's
Transformative.
Yeah.
We
Wow.
meet on Zoom every 2 weeks or so, sometimes sooner. And it's been incredibly insightful to have a pair of eyes like Cynthia's, with so much experience and wisdom. I mean, nothing beats it. It's great.
That's like us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
parallel. There's a parallel
Yeah.
thing happening here.
Wow.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, but you don't talk that nicely about me.
I do.
Not to my face.
Well, no.
Okay.
I read it on her face. I read it on her face.
we can-
Respect.
Yeah, we can do that. Absolutely.
So that's great that you 2 have found each other, but how did you find each other?
Believe it or not, well, I've known her for many, many years, and your family. However, one day, out of the blue, I had been working on this book, a romance called Rosario, and out of the blue, she sends me an email. She was involved with Grub Street and said, there's a novel incubator going on, and I'm going to nominate you to participate. At that point, I had not picked up Rosario for years, and I think it's my Catholic school. Can't disappoint anybody. And I remember saying, I better get back on the stick so I have something to offer. And it's because of her that I resurrected the story and started writing, because I thought, I can't let Cynthia down.
What she hasn't told you is years ago, we were at some sort of reception, and the two of us are in a corner, and she's telling me about this story, and I just can't let it go. So every time I either saw her or someone was talking about her, I would say, how's the book? How's the book? And so maybe 10 years had passed. And I had done Grub Street, and they were always looking for good writers. And I said, there's Rosario. So that's how it happened.
So I know a lot about your story, Cynthia / Mom. But what I learned about you very recently, yesterday, is how early you fell in love with writing at like 4 or 5 years old. Yeah, tell that story.
We lived in Cambridge, and the house had an attic. And upstairs in the attic, there were these boxes of these school tablets. And I opened it up and just saw this cursive writing. I said, whoa, this is something. So I grabbed a pencil, and I would spend hours just, tracing the words, but I thought it was like some sort of a magical thing happening. And I think that's how I fell in love with it. That, and the fact that Peter Rabbit was my favorite storybook story, that my mother would read me I would make her read me the same story every night. And every night I'd get very nervous at the same part when Peter Rabbit is hauling into the garden, and here comes McGregor. Oh. And it would just be, and I just loved it. I loved the thrill and feeling of that being captured by those words.
And Suzette, for you, when did you know, or when did you fall in love with the creative writing process?
I had always loved writing funny stories. Mm-hmm. And even when I was working as the executive director of a very large legal group and putting programs together and all that, I was always involved in typing long, funny letters to my friends. And eventually, I landed through serendipity a job with a newspaper in New Jersey. And not only was I a reporter, but I had to write a funny column. From the outsider's point of view, who comes into this agricultural, suburban New Jersey place, and the things that I notice about it, it became really popular. And the bottom line is, I fell in love with writing and discovered that if you could put together 500 words that people responded to, it could expand into short stories or essays or blogs. And that's when I really discovered I loved it.
Wow. That's incredible. So let's just jump right into it. I want to start with, should we start with the story arc or character development?
All of that seems really interesting. And yet, I want to know about Rosario.
Oh, yeah.
I want to know about Rosario too. That's the last name.
Oh, my goodness.
So I'm like, oh my goodness,
Kismet.
there's some connect. It is.
She is in the room with us now.
She's here. Hello. I have a chair.
Let me tell you, Cynthia and I have been channeling on our books. So this is the storyline. It's a completely fictionalized romance based on one nugget of truth, and that is that my grandmother in the Philippines fell in love with a Catholic priest who never left the priesthood and who fathered 9 children. My mother is number 9.
Whoa.
And I found out about it late in life, in my 40s or something. And when I asked a cousin about it, she said, I said, why didn't he just leave the priesthood and marry her? Well, you have to understand, he loved God more than he loved her. And I thought, what? Well, then it got into my writing mind. What if you could write a story where that seemed credible?
Yeah.
Where you could make the reader believe that there was this intense love between the two of them that went against all conventions. In my book, nobody's a predator. It's not that kind of thing at all. It's just about this compelling, abiding love. And that's what I wanted to write about.
Oh, wow.
I think what intrigued me was, what kind of a woman would stay with a man, have 9 children, and it would be okay.
Yeah.
So I needed to know about her.
Yes. Yes. Now, in my fictionalized book, I'm not getting into the 9 kids. Who would believe it?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's really about their relationship that leads to the birth of their first child. What were the barriers and the problems that they had to overcome to get to that point?
Yeah.
And I don't know if you're familiar with the author Jorge Amado, but he writes about South American culture, and it has all these elements of gossipy and community and religion and different kinds of things that I always felt were so warm and fascinating. And so much of that is also in the Filipino culture.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
That's incredible.
It is.
Really
Thank you.
incredible. Wow.
It's a great book. It
Wow.
really is. And
I can't
it's
wait to
so-
read it. When is it coming out?
Well, I'm probably 2 or 3 chapters away from landing the plane. So
Wow.
Okay.
hopefully very
Congratulations.
soon. Hopefully
Yeah.
very soon, thanks to Cynthia's help.
But
I'm not kidding
she
you.
writes like it's a film. I mean, it's so filmically. You can really see. I can see it. You can almost smell the vendors in the marketplace, or when she's talking about when she's in the garden. You can almost feel like you are there. It's so evocative. It's just, and it stays with me. I'll get a chapter from her, and like days later, I'm thinking about, gee, I wonder what's going on here. It's just so powerful. It's just powerfully rendered. Powerfully rendered.
Wow. That's amazing. I can't wait to read it.
And so you also, Mom, are writing about your family.
Right.
That was going to be my next question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
What's your book? No,
jumped in.
okay, you're doing it.
Okay,
That's
well,
good.
I mean, I don't want to step on your
no,
toes.
no, you're the professional.
No, but
I'm just your
no,
sidekick.
I'm not. I don't know why
No,
you
you
say
are.
that. That's
You
just
are.
not the truth.
the
Oh my goodness, woman. But anyways, what was I going to ask? Oh,
What's your book about?
yeah.
My story, it's an intergenerational story about a family whose origins come from Barbados, are in Barbados. And it's about a love, sort of unrequited love that goes on and impacts 3 generations of this family. And how that event just, created havoc, created different directions. But basically what happens to, the children of people, who have who essentially decided not to be together, or they can't be together. What happens to the offspring? And so it's just not this situation where the damage is done between these two people, but it's their children, it's their children's children, it's their children's children, and how it just has this ricochet effect.
Wow. And it's based on...
It's partially based on my grandparents, my great grandparents, but the genesis of it is really Barbados. It was this place where these people met, where they came from, and they carried that over to, when they moved to the States, when they moved to Cambridge, Massachusetts. But this culture has been such a dominant force in our family. So it was just being able to write about it was fun.
Yeah.
And you, in the last, just recently, like in the last several years, you were able to go back to Barbados with your sisters.
Right.
And so what was that like for you? And how did that help your writing process, just being in the area and the space and the culture?
We lived in St. Thomas for a number of years, and so you would think that one Caribbean island is like the others. Absolutely not. But being in Barbados, and particularly in some of the parishes, it was like, oh my God, I'm not really making this up. This really is true. To stand in Hillaby, which is Hillaby St. Andrews, which is the parish that my grandmother grew up in, and see these hilly fields, to see these farms, and say, oh my God. And it just was empowering to me. I knew that I couldn't stop. I absolutely had to get this story down.
How do you fall in love with a character when you're writing? Is it the story first? Is it the character first, and then you build the story around it? How does that process work for either one?
Well, for me, I often feel that every character has to evoke some kind of emotion in the reader, for good or bad. And I fall in love with characters that have extreme aspects to their personalities. You know, maybe Vicenta, she's the town gossip and she's particularly vicious, you know. But I also feel that, and Cynthia and I talked about this morning, how she said everybody wants something. And so therefore, all the dialogue and their personalities, their gestures have to push all that forward. And I particularly like the bad guys because they're more interesting.
They are.
They're more interesting.
Yeah.
And it might seem very obvious the way they're trying to steer things, but at the same time, especially in this case of female characters, back in 1897 when there wasn't a lot of power, a lot had to be done through persuasion and, you know, that behind-the-scenes influence. And I always find that really intriguing.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think in both of our stories, what seems to be like the mainstay is the locations are just like other characters. So you get so much out of the placement. You know, these towns, these villages, the marketplace, the church. It's just interesting to me that they really help sort of push that character along. But I always think about, what does this character want? What are they willing to die for? What can they absolutely not live without? And I think that sort of, for me, propels where I'm going with the character. And so we were talking about it this morning. Sometimes I don't understand what they want, or I don't like what they want, but I have to trust that voice, you know, to kind of propel it forward.
When Cynthia talks about a sense of place being a character, I saw that, I read it so clearly in your piece because the family's based in Cambridge. And there's that whole added layer of trying to fit in, conform. Then they go to Barbados, where everything seems so natural, and there's a strong spiritual, intuitive component, and it brings out yet more aspects in their personalities. And I just felt you did such a masterful job with that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I remember you had me working on one of your stories, and I just, to your point, Suzette, I fell in love with just with the brokenness of, and I can't remember his name. Bertrand, just the brokenness of him, because, you know, so typically, particularly in cultures that, well, I'll just throw it out there, West Indian cultures,
right.
the men are just crazy.
Right.
But anyways, but you know, they have to be strong, they have to be tough, they think everything belongs to them, including women and everything. But there was such a brokenness about him that in a way kind of reminded me of my dad, that it was, yeah, he was strong, he was this, he was that, but he was broken, and he was broken because of many things. But I found myself just really understanding him far more than the women in your story.
It's interesting, because we were talking about, is it different today? We were talking about, is it more difficult to write men or women? I mean, how, you like, what is the contrast?
So basically, you all had the podcast before you came here?
Yeah, we had lunch.
Nice.
So
Okay.
we were talking.
All right.
Yeah, you prepped. They prepped.
Yeah.
They prepped.
Well, we had to know.
All right. I'm just, you know.
Well, are you going to talk about that? I don't know. Are you going to talk about that? I don't know.
Well, I think for me, you know, writing it from a man's point of view depends on how much experience I feel that I've observed. And I don't think that men are that much different emotionally. It's just that they're under maybe stronger constraints or stereotypes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You have a lot of male authors who are so great at writing female characters.
Gabriel Garcia Marquez.
You know,
Brilliant.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Or
Not Spike Lee.
Unfortunately. But the thing about Bertrand
Sorry, Spike.
that I like, that I think that really appealed to me, it is he got broken through the beauty of
Yes.
this land. He was
Yes.
it's like it pushed through, and it shattered him open, and that's what sort of got him to sort of transform and see different aspects of, because his farm was very dry and very rugged, and it was tough to get anything out of the ground. And here he moves to this parish where everything is lush and easy and fluid, and everything is beautiful. And it's such a contrast
Right.
to how he was raised.
You know, a lot of our audience are going to be filmmakers, aspiring filmmakers. We have one aspiring filmmaker in the audience listening to this. And I wonder for you both, what to you makes a good story,
Wow.
film-wise?
We didn't talk about that.
They didn't prep for
Oh,
that.
you didn't prep for
Okay.
that.
Well, for me, again, I think a lot of it is evoking emotion, making me feel something. And when I feel something emotionally, I'm invested in the story and the characters. So that's a big thing. And when you talk about writing cinematically, the gestures, the believability of the characters, and also the kind of where you're looking from above and you can see the comedy of errors that is going on that the characters are not even aware of yet. That I think that for me.
I was recently came upon the series CB Striker. CB Strike. It's a series on British series on, I think, Showtime.
She loves the British.
The Brits.
Love that.
She does.
I
She loves
like
the
the Brits too. Like, yeah, they do some good shows.
Great stuff.
Yeah.
And this is a guy who had been in the war, and he has a shattered leg or
Yes.
something. But he's so, again, a shattered, broken person, and but he's so interesting. He's so interesting, this character, and there's something about him that pulls me and draws me in, and I think it's the story, but it really is the character. It's the character.
Yes.
Yeah. And I want him to be imperfect, and I want him to be just messy, and I want him to be soulful and deep and probing, and probably unaware that he is an idiot. It's delicious.
I remember, and I was young. I don't remember the year, but anyways, we were watching The Jerk with Steve Martin. And Mom, you laughed, I think, from the beginning to the end,
Yeah.
and like cackling like I had never heard you laugh before. And I just kind of thought, like, this guy is such an idiot. Like, I could not.
That's why it's so
I
funny.
I couldn't appreciate any of it. But then I watched it many years later, and I laughed my ass off.
Yeah.
I really did.
It's so funny because I think I don't know that we need to talk about The Jerk a ton, but it's like at first I was like, oh, this is kind of offensive.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Yeah, it is,
Yeah.
exactly.
But it's just so absurd, and he's so dumb that
Well, it's sort of like, it has that sort of Mel Brooks Blazing Saddles
Yeah.
element to
Yes.
it.
Yeah.
Where it's so offensive. You
He's adopted by this black family
Yeah.
that like saves him in the end,
and no
I'm
one,
just
and he
like-
doesn't know that he's not black.
and he doesn't know that he's not
it's a
black.
riot. It's a riot.
Oh my gosh. Anyways, that was just a side note. But, you know, I think something that you and my grandmother did really well is you exposed Kia and I to a lot of different types of stories,
Right.
whether they were books or whether they were movies. And with my grandmother, it was, and she loved the Brits too. God love you guys. It was a lot of the
storytellers.
period pieces. It was
Right.
a lot of black and whites, which again, you know, I'm like, why is it black and white? We have color TVs, and just couldn't
Yeah.
figure it out. And now it's like I never miss an opportunity. But the stories, and then what you did is you also gave us the space to write stories. And I remember like our activities were not necessarily go play with dolls, but she'd give us a prompt, and then we would have to create something
Okay.
with
Oh,
that.
nice. Yeah.
And I can't even tell you how much that has impacted me as a creative, because it was just so cool. I
Well,
really,
you know, my mother was my first teacher,
yeah.
because I would go to the movies with her since I was like 4 years old. And so we would always end up walking to the theater because we lived in Cambridge, so we were either going to a theater in Harvard Square or Central Square. And on the way home, I'd say, well, Mom, why did that person do such and so? And she said, well, Cynthia, so, and she would explain, and that some
Yes.
people are that way because of whatever. So she was really the first person that helped talk to me about character and why people are the way they are and do the kinds of things that they do. But all my life, she's been the best teacher.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
You know, there's a lot that can be said about story arcs, and there's so much that people get wrong, I think.
Certainly.
Certainly. No names required, but there's a lot that people get wrong, right? And just today I was meeting with, I'm in grad school, and meeting with my advisor, and she essentially tore my story apart. But that was a good thing. It was a good thing. And she started talking to me. She kind of gave me like this little list that I can't wait to like shoot my questions out at you. But she talked about the measurable goal. What do you want this character to be able to achieve or fail at?
Yeah.
And what's at stake in
Yeah.
that process? The obstacles, the internal, the external, the interpersonal, the environmental.
This sounds very much like my pre-production class.
It was, but I did well in that class.
You did.
I did. But it was just like a eureka moment for me again, because you know, I've done documentary my whole life, and
Yes.
and now I'm writing stories again, but for the screen, and I'm just wondering, like, in terms of the story arc, do either of you have anything to add to that, or disagree with, or?
I would just say trust. You've got to trust your characters. Because if you live with them long enough.
I need
and
that
it's
pen
not-
to write that down. Sorry.
If you've lived with them long enough, they will tell you. Or it's not like, I'm not someone who's like, does a nice outline and I really have whatever. I really don't. I'm much more organically, I want to feel them. I want to hear them. And I do. You and I were talking about that. We hear them. But if you trust that character, I think he or she will show you where she has to go. I mean, it's not like I know the end of my stories. I have an idea. But I think part of the fun of writing is that you discover so much thing in the process. I mean, one of my characters in the second manuscript of this series, she literally walks into the ocean and doesn't return. And it blew me away. For 2 weeks, I couldn't go back to the computer. I said, no, what the hell? What is this? And she literally walks into the ocean and never returns. But she had to, given what was at stake for the farm and the people that she sacrificed her life for this particular situation. But I didn't know that. I sort of came across that. It wasn't mine, you know?
Wow.
I know you have several little examples.
Well, in Rosario, Father Teodoro, the love interest, okay, he goes into the priesthood because his mother and his family in Spain expect him, as the third son, to go into the priesthood. And it was never his choice, but he never objected. Now he comes to and he actually goes to the Philippines, volunteers, because he wants to get away from his incredibly domineering mother. So what is it that he ultimately wants? Well, he thinks he just wants to get away from her. But what he finds is he would like to be honest about how he feels. But once he comes in contact with the honesty of how he has such a passion for Rosario, it seems like the wrong thing to want, the sinful thing to want. And yet his whole journey is, how does he express himself? How do we get past these assumptions about him to see him for the man that he really is? And honestly, there were times when I had such paralysis about, well, how's he going to say that? What's the situation or the environment that causes
Right.
this to happen? And I would wake up in the wee hours with almost like a misty little glimpse of a dream of maybe them in the garden talking to each other and some revelation being made. And I would just sit at my computer and go with that. And it was like channeling. Somehow I would start to see it, and I could imagine what they were saying. What expression does she have on her face? In what way does she kind of push him along toward his own honesty? All of that kind of stuff. So,
Wow.
yeah.
I think there always has to be obviously a beginning, middle, and end. But I think it's the start that sort of really helps kind of propel you towards the ending. What does this character have to discover? What do you want for that person? What do you want for him? And I think if you allow yourself just to allow it, just to trust it, it'll come. Even if you write 800 pages and it really comes down to 3. But that journey of those 800 pages are going to be the best time you've ever had in your life. Really,
Yeah.
it's going to be great.
Or else you're not a writer.
Exactly.
Right.
I like editing. 800 pages to 5. I like editing.
Yep.
Yeah, I like editing as well. And I just don't know how to do my own stuff sometimes, but that's okay.
Yeah. So, Cynthia, you have a background in media and more Emmys than Tony.
I think I do. I think Tonia has more Emmys than I do. But who's
No.
No, I am. She is.
a lot.
She told
No.
me.
No, you have 5. I have 3.
Okay.
Booyah.
Wow.
And so,
I'm giving some away, so it's sort of hard to remember.
oh, that's right.
You gave away your Emmys?
Yeah, to my mom.
Oh,
and-
that's
yeah.
right.
I think I gave 3 to Sevi.
But you still won them. I mean,
Yeah.
that's really the bottom line, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Rochelle, she gets it.
Yeah, no, I know that this is a sore, subject.
It's not
Really,
sore at
it's
all.
not- It's no competition, honey.
It's not sore at all.
But,
I still have time. She's retired. I have time.
Yeah.
So
Right. Well, you're gonna
Yeah.
get an Oscar, right?
Exactly.
You gotta
That's
add
right.
to the, yeah.
That's right.
Or maybe you'll be an EGOT.
if I learn how to sing,
You can just write a song.
I
or
can
you
write a song. I can write a song.
Yeah, totally. You can.
Yeah.
you
How
could.
hard can it be?
Yeah. But anyway,
Now
that
that
wasn't really
you're
the
back
point
in the
of it.
atmosphere with drops of Jupiter in your head.
I'm sorry, Michelle, really.
It's all right. I mean, like this is, it's an opportunity because, she has had an award-winning podcast and I've never had a podcast and I don't know what I'm doing. So I get to tag along for this ride.
You sparked the greatness in her.
There it is.
Ooh, I love that.
And vice versa.
Yes.
Anyways,
But
it's not
my
about
question
us.
really was about sort of what it's like to write for TV versus what's that transition going from that kind of writing to writing like novels?
I mean, television is so collaborative, and there's so many hoops. Your executive producer and the head of the department. I mean, all of your material has to get sort of green lighted by these people, and I'm not sure. I always felt like I was confined, harnessed, that I couldn't wait to get my own voice, and I didn't know if I had a voice. But it was. I think it was the frustration of having somebody say, "Yes, this is okay. Okay, can you change that?" I just wanted to write.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't hard because I always knew that's what I wanted to do. I thought I went into television thinking it was the most creative place I could possibly be. Yes and no.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes and no. It didn't give me what I thought it was going to give me, but it allowed me to make a living and have a career and raise my children. So, thank you.
Yeah. Have you written
Yes,
cinema?
I had not cinema, but I had probably 22 years of being a columnist.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And so basically you're taking 500 words and you're trying to convey a powerful message, a story arc, all of that. It's so much easier to write 1,200 words than 500.
Yes, it is.
For real.
So to make a jump into book authorship or something like what I'm doing, which is I've always written nonfiction, the art of column writing, the art of opinion writing, and so this romance genre is very, very new to me. And what I found difficult was for years I was trained to get to the point.
Yep.
What's your point?
Yep.
Start off with your point.
Right.
And go, and then end it, all right? And bolster it up and end it. And suddenly it's like, oh, you got to get into the mental process. You got to get into the being of the character.
Right. Yeah, that's it. That's
And
it.
know, maybe expound on the environment. And that was really a challenge for me in the beginning.
Wow. Did you find yourself trying to condense?
Yes.
Like, I can tell about this person really quickly.
Oh, yeah. Like sometimes I would read my stuff back out loud, and it would be, okay, I just kind of ran through that like a freight train, and there was no poetic ebb and flow.
Yeah,
You know what
yeah.
I mean? It was like, this happened and then this happened. Yeah. So, yeah, I had to kind of train myself.
From journalistic writing to,
Yes,
to fiction.
exactly,
Like,
Rochelle.
that's a leap.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
reading your stuff out loud is so important. Or if you're able to find a creative partner to read your stuff, because I think that we can get so far into our head that sometimes we think the words are there and they're not there, right?
There's this assumption that, like, well, I must have said this because I know it.
Right.
You know, and
Yeah.
so it's sometimes it's just getting another set of eyes that is so valuable.
Yeah.
It's very important. Very important.
Yeah.
And that's why I think having a writing partner is just critical. I mean, of course, writing is lonely anyway. Not lonely, but it's an alone time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
a very private situation. But when you have a partner, there's just somebody else. I know that she's almost as invested in my work as I am.
Right.
I know she's only giving me notes because they don't. To make the story, to make the character, make a point stronger, and so she's on my side, and I love that. There's a sense of that we are in this on this road together. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
It is. And also when it comes to reading out loud, I mean, I try to do that before I send my stuff to Cynthia because you really catch duplicative words. The rhythm and the cadence is
Yes.
off. That's how I figured out, this is just too
Yeah.
basic here, right?
Yeah.
And Cynthia's been a godsend because she'll say things like, I think I just need a little more environment here.
Yes.
Or I want to know more about why Father Alab would do something like. I mean, it's so helpful because you get in the weeds.
Right. Right.
And it really uncovers a lot of hidden insights. But yes, reading out loud completely makes the story better.
It's true. It's true. We try and tell our students that.
We do.
And they
don't
don't.
listen.
They don't. I'm like, that's not even a sentence, bro.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Favorite author and why? Or favorite book. Not author. Favorite book and why?
I have to go with my Bible, Song of Solomon, Toni Morrison. And I think she was the first writer that I had ever read that she wrote the way I dream. And I thought, wow, this is incredible. This is, it was something, there was a connection that I had with her words. And I have to give my favorite Toni Morrison story. So she comes to GBH. And
Wait, you met Toni
I
Morrison?
met Toni Morrison.
What?
Thank you, God.
I met
What?
Alice Walker.
That's pretty good too.
That's true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Alice
So did
Walker's
you.
amazing.
That's right.
You were there. Yeah.
Wow.
So Toni Morrison's coming in to do something, a McNeil Lear or whatever. And so one of my engineering friends says, she's coming in, come in. So I came in and I met her. And she said to me, don't I know you? And it was like I was being sanctioned or ordained.
Oh.
She said, I know you. And I said, no, but I know you. It was wonderful. So
Yes. Wow.
Cool.
Yeah, very cool.
Well, I have to reach back into some really old books that really influenced me, especially in the style that I'm covering Rosario in, and that would be Jorge Amado, the Brazilian writer. And he has such a way of creating this community, quirky, eccentric, mean sometimes, very, very human, and how you really feel the heat and the tropical atmosphere, the Santeria, the influences of that religion on that culture. And I just always have been so moved by his writing. Isabel Allende in House of the Spirits.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Laura Esquivel, like
Yeah.
Water for Chocolate.
that's her favorite.
Yeah.
Right?
I love that one.
So those
oh, my
kind
goodness.
of things
Yeah.
that have kind of informed my my style,
Yeah.
or the way I would aspire to write.
Yeah. How about you?
Wait, what?
Your favorite book?
My favorite book? Oh, I could never pick a book, I don't think.
Okay.
I read at least 2 or 3 books a week.
Wow.
I know. I love reading. It's the most satisfying. And in the summer, I sit,
Yeah.
go out on my porch and read for hours. Yeah.
Boy.
That is
Yeah,
great.
that is
yeah, I
great.
do a
You know
lot
they
of-
made
Yeah.
television, right?
It's not the same thing.
It's not. It doesn't calm my spirit the way that reading does. Reading really
Okay.
good
Yeah.
fiction is just the best experience. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's another world.
It is. It is. And it's like I find myself thinking about them, and I wonder what's going to happen next. And yeah.
And not only that, you get to produce them.
Yeah.
You get to create the scenarios,
Yeah.
the actors and the
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah. It is. It's very fun. Yeah. You think I'm weird? Why do you think I'm weird?
No, I'm just saying.
What?
I calculate that I read 67 books in undergrad.
Yeah. That's not very many.
Okay.
Sorry.
I think my favorite book is The Shack, and it's up on
Oh
the
yeah, I've read that.
Read that.
and I did not like the movie. I just didn't, and because with The Shack, like I was there. I was there, and it was a very spiritual experience for me because I felt what this man was feeling, and I correlated that to the times in my life where I didn't think God was there, and was able to just kind of take that journey with him. But I hated the movie. I really want people to stop making movies out of great books.
Or bad movies out of great
Yeah.
books.
True.
Right.
Oh,
Like,
bad movies
Right.
out of great books.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
that's what it
true.
is.
Yeah, those books deserve a limited series, in my humble opinion. Like that works
Yeah.
so much better.
Yeah.
Like Leanne Moriarty, I love her writing, and they did Reese Witherspoon, and of course I'm not going to be able to think of the name of the show, but it was so amazing. And the author was an executive producer, so
Is it Gillis? She wrote Gone Girl.
no, it's not her. What is it? Yes, Big Little Lies.
Pretty Little
Ding, 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 ding,
No, not
ding.
Pretty Little Lies. Big Little Lies.
Big Little Lies.
Big Little
Yeah.
Lies.
Oh, okay.
Oh my gosh. First of all, the book, phenomenal. She's such a great writer. And then the way that and it's also like Reese Witherspoon's big into reading, so
Right, yeah, she's-
if
yeah.
you care about the text to begin with, and then you
Right.
turn it into a show, you're going to be true to that. And a limited series gives you the space to
Exactly.
actually.
And I think
So
you need
true.
that.
Yeah.
You need that.
Like
Yeah.
like Dark Winds by Tony Hillerman.
Yeah.
That was a great
Yes,
series.
yes.
The whole Navajo.
Yeah,
culture thing.
yeah,
I
but
loved
you
it.
need that time
You're so
to,
right.
to
That
develop
culture
it, because
is so
trying
good.
to condense like a good novel into an hour and a half is like doesn't
Yeah,
it just
right.
doesn't work.
Right.
fair.
Yeah,
Although I do think The Color Purple worked.
I think
They did a good job
Spielberg's-
with that.
But it was the
version.
casting.
Oh
They
my gosh.
nailed
Well,
the
90%
casting.
of a good film is the casting.
agreed.
Yes.
Agreed.
Yes.
Acting is so important.
But
Like House of the Spirits, the movie was such a disappointment to me. But I loved the book.
right, right.
Yeah, I think I had to go back and read the book after I saw that film too.
And the Joy Luck Club.
I
yeah.
love that.
I love
yeah.
that.
That
I
was
know
good.
they did a good
They did,
job
yeah,
with
they
that.
did do a good job.
Yeah,
with
And
that.
that's
again,
the-
it was
Who's the
Yeah.
director? Who's the
Yeah.
director? Do you know?
no. Who was the director of the Joy Luck Club? Anyone?
Wait, what happened to Peggy?
Anyone? She went home
Why?
because she was coughing and having a.
Did you kick her out?
I asked her to go in the hallway to cough. I'm so sorry.
Peggy's my favorite.
I know she is. She'll be back.
I know.
She was just having a little episode. The Joy Luck Club. V's on it.
Not me. I'm worried about Peggy.
You are worried about Peggy. This has just been wonderful, and my mom is one of my greatest inspirations, and
And mine.
Yeah, I just anything I'm writing, it goes to her. Now it goes to Rochelle as well. It is just great to be someone who just appreciates how brilliant you are, and
Thank you.
Yeah, and I love you. I think you're brilliant, and I do want to direct your first film out of this trilogy. So
Oh boy.
Oh my!
we
That'll
will
be fun, huh?
That's
we will
amazing.
do it.
Be on the
Yeah.
set.
I'm here on the ground floor hearing this.
And Suzette, thank you as well. This has just been really fun, and it's you come back when the books are done. Come back and talk about it. We
That
just
place, right?
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh!
Yeah.
we want our autograph copies.
Yes,
we want
yes,
to
yeah.
get out.
Yeah.
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 We'll have them on the desk.
Oh, good
and
idea.
We'll,
yeah.
we'll get you some buyers. Right? Buy the box.
Thank you so much. This was just an incredible experience.
Thank you.
You.
Thank you both.
Doing our close of the show.
What the hell? Like, did someone give you a low energy pill?
No, it was just I started thinking about these stories that were just so powerful in my life, and I think I'm just still in the moment. That's all.
Okay, all right.
No
all right.
pills.
No, I'm sorry.
No, don't do pills.
Pills.
Don't do drugs.
I was just throwing shade. It wasn't-
This is your brain on drugs.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The egg.
That
yeah.
thing, the egg. Yeah.
It's the Dare podcast.
Yeah, it is a Dare podcast. Dare sponsors us.
No, but it's great, and like not for nothing, like just sitting around a table with like incredibly creative women, including yourself, is it just brings me a lot of joy.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. Yeah,
For sure.
yeah. But now you just ruined me, like teasing you, so I don't really know what we're supposed to do now.
And that's the short of it.
Hey, we hope you enjoyed the short of it. You can listen to the short of it each Saturday right here on BroncoEyeRadio.com. Want to stay in touch with the shorties? Follow us on Instagram at _the short of it, on Facebook at the short of it, or on our YouTube channel, Hull Bay Productions Media Channel.